While it may be a new year, the battle remains the same between velocity and heat. As the build to SummerSlam gets underway, let's get back into the swing of things by checking out what happened this week on Raw and SmackDown. Eric Bischoff started off the night by introducing his newest acquisitions in the tag team champions, the Un-Americans. My biggest question here is, how exactly were they able to quickly get into the limo after escaping the cage on Thursday? Christian, Storm, and Test now join the Red brand, and the soon-to-be renamed World Tag Team titles come along with them, but their arrival gets cut off when Shawn Michaels appears on stage and promised to go on the hunt to get his hands on Triple H one way or another. After losing his European title to RVD in a ladder match last week, Jeff Hardy was able to dethrone Bradshaw of the hardcore belt in his home state of North Carolina. But as expected with this division, Johnny Stamboli would quickly get into the ring to take the belt, as would Tommy Dreamer thanks to a kendo stick, before escaping through the crowd with the Longhorn-themed strap. Defeating Booker T to become #1 contender last Monday, Chris Benoit rolled up Rob Van Dam in their match, with some feet on the ropes, to win his 4th Intercontinental Championship. While later on, Bischoff's new enforcers Jamal and Rosie continued their destruction by taking out Mae Young and the Fabulous Moolah. Undertaker found himself in a 3-on-1 attack by the Canadians after his match with Chris Nowinski, getting laid out with a damning big boot from Test and a initially botched concerto to leave the American Badass out cold. Triple H finally arrived to the building and called out Shawn Michaels, explaining that he turned on his best friend due to feeling HBK wouldn't give the spotlight to him, and emphasized how he couldn't hang in the ring with the game. When offering Michaels a chance to come back and remain as his manager, Hunter's informed of someone assaulting Shawn in the parking lot and busting his head into a car window. They played it off as a whodunit and had Hunter showing concern for him, but knowing how cerebral this particular assassin has been over the years, there's some doubt as to whether or not Triple H had any kind of involvement in this. The main event concluded with Ric Flair styling and profiling in Greensboro against The Rock, but the Nature Boy would fall short of defeating the Great One. After the two men shared mutual respect and Flair tried to make a big announcement, SmackDown's Chris Jericho laid out Nate with a chair and made his own announcement by jumping ship to Monday nights. Bischoff would venture back to SmackDown and end up in Stephanie McMahon's office, trying to play more mind games with his rival GM and brag about the latest names he took from her roster. Potentially the next WWE Champion took on Mark Henry in his in-ring debut on the Blue brand, lifting the 353-pound opposition with another F5, as he continues to run through bodies en route to SummerSlam. We then got a several-minute one-take backstage segment with a few interactions between Lesnar, Hulkster, and Angle, as well as former OVW teammates John Cena and Rico sharing some words. Personally, I love this type of setup, and it helps to give the show more of a lively backstage environment compared to just an isolated segment or interview. Kurt got himself disqualified and gave Hollywood Hogan the right to face Brock in action next week, or as the man himself showed, end up as the next victim of the next big thing. Stephanie got on Holly, Awesome, and Kidman for daring to watch Raw on one of the monitors, when they could have just been showing their concern for Shawn's well-being there, Steph. Heading out to the ring after Bischoff bought a front row seat to officially declare that SmackDown has now acquired both Eddie Guerrero and new IC champion Chris Benoit, meaning that both of WWE's top titles are held by Stephanie's exclusive stars. But the bigger point to mention from this is that tonight officially marks the beginning of the SmackDown 6 era for the show. The Radicals would get to face Edge and Rock in the main event on their first night, putting up a great challenge but would get some help thanks to Brock Lesnar at ringside to make the Undisputed Champion submit as Rock stared into the challenger's eyes before finally tapping out. Hogan would get his revenge from earlier by laying out the rookie on stage with a chair, bit of a common theme this week, while the show faded to black. With more big moves being made on the A shows, it's time to see what our esteemed B shows have to offer this weekend. Hurricane and Shannon Moore hope to get back a win from last week when they face Billy and Chuck in the main event of Velocity, while William Regal encounters Goldust to close out Sunday Night Heat. Prepare for some more SmackDown and Raw action. Let's see how we kick off our late Saturday night on TNN. Michael Cole looks beyond ecstatic to be here alongside Mark Lloyd for our opener between Hardcore Holly and the North American Grizzly, Albert. Commentary covers the brand defections as Albert rushes his way into getting the early advantage and Holly finds some openings to avoid more attacks. Bob hopes some punches and chops can put the hairy powerhouse down, only to be proved wrong with the bicycle kick that he's able to kick out of. The future train throws some shots and chokes Holly in the corner, preparing to toss him around the ring like a sack of potatoes and follow up with keeping Sparky Plug onto the mat. Albert then hopes to land the Vader Bomb until Tough Enough's trainer blocks it to start his comeback and get a near fall off the best drop kick in the business. Even with Albert reversing an Irish whip and preventing a roll-up, Hardcore manages to kick him in the exposed part of the abdomen that isn't covered by body hair. A crossbody off the top doesn't end the match, with the two attempting their finishers before Holly fights out and manages to lift and drop the big man with a slam from Alabama to get our first victory of the night. During the break, Holly walks over to confront Mark Lloyd and slaps him in the face before heading to the back. I can only assume Lloyd must have given him a funny look when he got pancaked earlier. Michael pokes fun at Mark's expense while we move on to Mike Awesome going up against Faarooq in what might end up becoming a barroom brawl if it gets that intense tonight. Awesome gets on the offense in the corner until Ron grabs the leg and spins him around into a back suplex, maintaining control for a bit before Mike trips him onto the rope and gets a close count off the rebound clothesline. The former Team Canada member executes the top rope clothesline and continues to keep Simmons incapable of fighting back, including a chinlock in the middle of the ring. Mike does make a mistake by trying to damage the back when the former WCW champion reverses and finds his chance to hit the power slam, momentarily caught off with a DDT. Awesome taunts Faarooq and ends up paying for it when he's on the receiving end of a spinebuster that gives the APA member a win. The lesson learned here? Never let your boss catch you in the act of watching the competition. Just in time for the Cruiserweights to appear on SmackDown's B show, Billy Kidman takes on Sho Funaki, with Mark Lloyd getting back at Michael by mentioning his very up-close and personal experience with Nidia on Thursday. Both guys start off the match showing some one-upsmanship, until Kidman plants Funaki onto the canvas, with Sho later landing a loud midsection kick and tossing him straight into the ring post that results in Billy bouncing roughly off the ring steps. Funaki goes outside to target the left shoulder by tossing him into the barricade, going back in to apply a submission and keep wearing down that limb. Now that Kidman has to fight with essentially one arm, Sho stays aggressive by adding more pressure via the armbar, all while Rey Mysterio and John Cena get put over on commentary, as the multi-time Cruiserweight champion is able to stop the punishment briefly and manages to lift up Funaki for the Ushikurushi. Kidman keeps fighting through the pain to swing momentum back on his side, though an Enziguri and DDT assist Funaki in stopping that second wind. His top rope dive is stopped and instead leads to a Hurricane Rana that almost gives Billy the win, the left arm causing a failed BK bomb when Funaki makes the critical mistake that others have by trying and failing to powerbomb the master of the powerbomb reversal. And as you'd expect, The Facebuster sets up his shooting star press to hand Kidman another W on Velocity. Hurricane and Shannon talk strategy backstage and plan on dealing with Rico if he interferes in tonight's main event. Though personally, I would have tried to call in Evan Courageous to help even the playing field. Our final contest on Velocity runs back Billy and Chuck versus the Hurricane and Shannon Moore. Michael brings up Billy and Chuck being upset about the tag team titles going to Raw and aren't thrilled with Helms' taunting after the bell. Billy getting knocked off his feet via the head scissors, Shining Wizard, and moments later, a wheelbarrow bulldog. Hurricane moves off the cover, leading to Chuck dropping an elbow onto his partner and cueing Shane and Shannon to double team and send Palumbo into Gunn's Little Ones while being trapped in the Tie of Woe. Chuck gets even more fed up and clotheslines Hurricane before getting tagged into the match, and an overhead belly-to-belly makes Sugar Shane pay for embarrassing the former tag champs. Mr. Ass returns to hit the delayed jackhammer, but showboats instead of going for the cover, though it doesn't matter when Chuck lands a few elbow drops off the ropes. Hurricane fights through a headlock to mount a comeback and execute the blockbuster that finally gets Moore and Gunn into this match. Some quick and heavy offense sets up the corkscrew senton and the follow-up pin gets interrupted. He and Helms send Palumbo to the outside but fail to do the same to Billy, Rico grabbing Hurricane out of the ring and brawls with him at ringside when Gunn drops Shannon with a Famouser but finds his cover broken up as well. Hurricane manages to hit a chokeslam onto the smoking gun and sends Rico flying over the top to the other side, choosing to put on the cape and take down the no-good hairstylist with a crossbody. Billy cuts him off, but later finds himself seated on the top rope when Shannon is unable to stop Palumbo and is tossed around straight into the code red that leads to a 3 count for Gunn and Palumbo. Rico remains a strong asset for the Blue Brand, but let's see how the Raw superstars fare on MTV. Matt Hardy opens Sunday Night Heat once again as he looks to get revenge on Steven Richards for stealing the win during last week's matchup. The Team Extreme member explaining in a pre-tape interview that he refuses to accept failure and that nothing will stop Version 1 from getting the job done. That name's got a nice ring to it, or it could just be the sound of a dial-up modem. Anyhow, Hardy goes right for Stevie before the bell and tosses him into the barricade, going into the ring where he throws 10 punches in the corner, staying on top and using his shirt to briefly choke Richards. Steven is able to send V1 onto the apron and toss him into the ring post, targeting the lower back while taunting Jeff's older brother and landing a suplex for a near fall. Some shoulder thrusts and a back suplex add more pressure onto Matt, plus give Steven more confidence to apply his unique rat trap submission as Coach and D'Lo ponder who attacked Shawn Michaels in the parking lot. The likely answer feels just as obvious as Hardy's escape from the hold to hit the side effect and neckbreaker, getting in his comeback against the man D'Lo terms the wacko one, but isn't enough to defeat him. Big Stevie Cool runs into the hip toss neckbreaker but counters his way into attempting a twist of fate only to get trapped into another side effect for a close count, as a proper twist of fate is stopped when Matt ends up on the apron again, trying for the sunset flip until Steven reverses and hopes to steal a second victory, though that plan falls flat. Matt lands the middle rope leg drop and looks for his finisher, only for Richards to grab the rope to escape and execute a bulldog that still doesn't put the Hardy Boy down. Steven places him on the top rope for an even more devastating bulldog when Matt fights out and gets the well-deserved win after a top rope twist of fate and a damn good opener here on Heat. Terri interviews our lordship about facing the Bizarre One tonight. bringing up her previous marriage to Dustin, and ponders about showing the same amount of class against the oddball in the Raw locker room. The power of the punch looks to do the trick later tonight. Raven wasn't scheduled to appear on Sunday Night Purgatory tonight, but comes out to join Coach and D'Lo on commentary, doing whatever he pleases as a part of making Heat his personal playground. We carry on with the debut of Shelton Benjamin. The former partner of Brock Lesnar and OVW hopes to start his own path to quick success tonight at the expense of Just Incredible. Raven questions the comments made about his supposed misery as Shelton starts with mat wrestling and Incredible cuts him off, only to receive a dropkick, hip toss, and monkey flip in a quick sequence. He then explains his unique point of view on why people mistake misery for thoughtfulness.
There's people like me, I'm treated in a certain way because I look a little different, because if people think I'm a degenerate, they think that I'm depraved, but I'm not depraved. You people are.
Before Justin attempts his own monkey flip that the rookie lands on his feet from and then gets a near fall off the Russian leg sweep. The former ECW champion lands a tornado DDT off the ropes to segue into some attacks in the corner, all while Raven claims D'Lo cheated his final exam to become a CPA before getting into wrestling. A sit-out powerbomb only leads Justin to a 2. Shelton fights his way back in and shows some strength with a military press slam as well as a Northern Lights suplex that almost gets him a shocking win. Credible reversing an Irish whip almost causes Benjamin to run into the referee, but he instead walks into a super kick that the Ohio Valley graduate manages to kick out of. Another kick attempt throws Justin off his game from telegraphing the spinning heel kick and hands the future Gold Standard his first WWE victory. Raven doesn't let up with the cheating accusations as tensions start to build at the announce desk. Johnny Stamboli and his fur jacket look to bounce back from his super brief reign as hardcore champion on Raw when he goes one-on-one with Spike Dudley. Raven continues pleading his case to D'Lo at the same time as Stamboli getting some early shots in and tossing Little Spike into the air to target those taped up ribs caused by Big Show 2 weeks ago. Brother Runt rolls up the bull, but his injury is worsened thanks to the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and reverse suplex onto the top rope. D'Lo questions Raven's beliefs on being right while Spike gets in a bulldog, Stamboli then rushing him into the corner and wear down those ribs by hammer throwing the small but tough competitor across the ring. An abdominal stretch gets assisted with the top rope until Johnny gets caught by the referee, though he moves on towards the middle rope only to get punched off and allow Spike to land a midsection stomp. Just when Dudley looks for his dog, Stamboli pulls him back in to nail the "Forget about it!" and get the win. The win quickly becomes an afterthought when Raven and D'Lo get even more confrontational.
I want to get this in perspective for the rest of the world. You need to tell me the way you live your life, as being a freak, as being a degenerate. Everyone else in the world wants to live that way. They're just keeping it quiet, keeping it, covered up to say.
They all live that way. Yes, they are all covering up. They're all concealing. And I feel like I'm a victim here because I'm treated in a certain respect. And you know what? You got a problem with that?
Oh, you damn right I got a problem with that.
Ending with Brown knocking Raven over the desk and onto the floor as Coach tries to calm his partner down with the two staring daggers before our final match gets underway. William Regal looks to prove a point to those who are strange and bizarre by defeating one of their own in Goldust to wrap up this week's Heat. A tie-up and some holds set the pace, with Regal trying but unable to rein the arm and gets flipped as a result, getting his head back in the game by throwing some left jabs, though he just as quickly finds himself body dropped. Dustin's crossbody to the outside gets blocked and ends with him released onto the top rope, allowing Regal to lay him out with a forearm. The former European champion connects with the running knee, but doesn't get the quick victory. soon trading blows with Rhodes until Goldie hits some clotheslines and attempts the final cut. Regal escapes, but makes the crucial mistake by searching for the brass knuckles and finds himself rolled up to give Goldust the quick win. Regal does get his heat back, pun not intended, by using those knuckles to knock out Goldust and stand tall for the end of another Sunday night of action. Our first Battle of the Beast shows in the new year leads to Sunday Night Heat scoring the point. I thought Albert and Hardcore Holly had a snug but fun match to start off the night, though things quickly turned around with Mike Awesome taking another loss this week to Faarooq. I felt this one didn't show off Mike's range in offense compared to last week's return against Tajiri, and especially with him losing after just one spinebuster, I'm still baffled as to why they aren't at least trying to build up Awesome to be a potential mid-card staple for SmackDown. The Cruiserweights helped carry the second half of Velocity. With Funaki having a surprisingly aggressive showing versus Kidman, it was nice to see given that we're mostly used to his more comedic tone. Hurricane and Moore remained consistently great in the final match with some nice double team moves and a well-built hot tag to Shannon despite them taking the loss. I kinda wish these guys got to stay a team when SmackDown eventually gets their new set of tag titles in a few weeks, but at least it was a good way to close out Velocity. Heat started with a very strong opener between Matt and Steven, having some callbacks to their match the week before, and ending with a massive top row finisher that helped lead to a clean finish this go around. Shelton had a good debut against Just Incredible, and while I could criticize that the Raven D'Lo banter did overshadow the match some, we still got a showcase of the technical and very agile style that Benjamin has to offer on the main roster. The final matches with Spike and Stamboli, as well as Regal and Goldust, weren't bad, but suffered due to brief match times. I thought the main event should have gotten a few more minutes, but we wouldn't have gotten as strong of an opener that we did on this show. So for what they were, it was a pair of perfectly fine TV matches. The extra brownie point of sorts goes towards the angle between Raven and D'Lo, likely setting up their match in the coming weeks that sounds intriguing, but whether it'll have anything to do with a spot on the announce team as some added stipulation remains to be seen. A solid outing this week for these shows as the continued build-up to the ongoing brand warfare and some matches for SummerSlam seem like they're starting to come together. Can't wait to see where things end up next week, and I hope you all enjoy it as well, for our next edition of Battle of the Beast Shows.